When I first got into pickleball, I thought the third shot drop was all about touch and having good ball control, but I was wrong. While these are important factors, the main thing that's gonna make you consistent on your third shot drop is having good preparation and the right technique. So in this video, I'm gonna take you step by step through exactly how to do this. The preparation for the third shot drop starts right after you hit the serve. After I hit my serve, I need to make sure that I'm standing in an athletic stance and I'm ready to react to my opponent's return. What I don't want you to be doing is standing there on your heels, not in a good position to move, because moving early and efficiently to hit your drop is one of the most important aspects to getting it in consistently. So we don't want to see this either. Obviously, I'm standing inside of the baseline right now. If I'm standing inside of the baseline, there's a high chance I might have to back up before hitting my drop. What I'd like to see is this. Even if I hit my serve and I carry my weight into the court a little bit, you're infinitely better off taking a quick step back so that you don't have to do that later. The first thing you should be thinking after you hit your serve is getting in an athletic stance right behind the baseline. So one more example of that. I'm in my athletic stance, which allows me to hit my drop in a good position moving forward. I'll talk about that more later. Just know you never want to be on your heels. You want to be in an athletic stance, ready to go as soon as you can be after you hit your serve. Once you're in this athletic position, the next step is to begin your turn. So I see so many players that don't do this properly. The second you see the ball is coming to your forehand or your backhand, you need to turn quickly. So this is what that should look like. I hit the serve, I see it's coming to my forehand, I immediately turn. What I don't do is I don't move for the ball while I'm still facing the court, then turn at the last second. You want to turn early because this makes it so when you're getting ready to hit the ball, you have a lot more control over your arm. You don't want to be turning your whole body and then unturning for a drop. That's something you might want to do on a drive or a different shot, but on the drop, you want to turn early and move in this turned position. I'm not completely facing the side fence when I'm preparing for a drop. When I'm doing this shot, I'm kind of at a 45-degree angle, and that's where I move to get to the ball. So important thing to remember, when you're moving to the ball, you should be at this 45-degree angle, which you turn to immediately after you see where the ball is going on your opponent's return. Never turn late, always turn early as you can, and then start focusing on your movement immediately. A big question I get is, where do you move? Where do you want to make contact with the ball? So there's a few aspects to this. The first is that you want to make contact with the ball around the height of your belly button if you can. Not every ball is going to be coming at the same height, so we can't always make that happen. But when we can, we should try to contact the ball right around here. You don't want it to be too low, and you don't want it to be too high. You also don't want to be reaching, and you don't want it to be too close to you. You want it to be pretty close to you, but around right here. The next thing to keep in mind is you want to contact the ball as it's falling. So when I drop a ball, it rises, then it falls. So on a drop, there's sort of that loopy trajectory. It comes up and it comes down. So you see, right when it's coming down is the best time to hit the ball. Right when it comes from the peak, then it starts falling. You don't want to hit it on the ground, but right when it's coming down. And the reason for that is when it's coming down, I'm essentially going the exact opposite direction as the ball with my paddle to hit this shot, which gives me a lot more control. If I hit the ball as it's rising, sure, I can do it, I can make it work, but it's pretty hard to do that as consistently as if the ball was falling. So in order to maximize consistency, you move to where the ball is falling and you try to make contact with it right here. So when I see the ball and I'm turned and I see where it's going, I'm essentially trying to line up this contact point with that level of trajectory from the ball. So what that looks like, I hit my serve and I turn. Should hit that one a little bit higher, so I hit it from a little bit farther back. See, so it's always going to be different every time. You might be hitting the ball from here, you might be hitting the ball from here. What's important is that you're in this position and you react super quickly from where your opponent hits their return and you get to that spot early. So I say get to the spot early. What does that mean? The second I see where Drew is hitting where the ball is, I get there and I actually take like an extra adjustment step once I'm already there. So that looks like this. I'm in position to hit my forehand, I'm moving, but even until the last second, I'm taking a few more adjustment steps in order to make sure I'm right here, because I don't want to be here and I don't want to be here. I only want to be here. And in order to do that, the ball is kind of unpredictable. So you always need to be taking an extra adjustment step right before you hit the ball so that you can move forward through it and hit it in that same contact point every single time. So as I just said, the other goal of getting to that spot early to hit your shot is that you want to be moving forward through the ball. Some people say you want to be gliding through the ball. One, because this puts your body weight into the ball, which gives you power, but also we're trying to get into the kitchen if we hit a good drop. So if I'm already moving forward, it makes it a lot easier for me to carry my momentum into the kitchen after I hit the shot. So we're trying to get there early and move forward through the ball, which looks like this. So I'm super active with my feet, can move forward through the ball, which allows me to come in. I did a reset there, and now I'm up at the kitchen where I want to be. So never be lazy with your footwork when you're preparing for your drop. That is a recipe for being out of position, for missing the center of your paddle, a lot of things that can cause you to miss the shot. And a quick bonus tip that makes this a lot easier for some people, if you have a better side on your drop, so if your forehand drop is way better or your backhand drop is way better, you can guarantee that you hit that every single time by sliding over in the box. So let's say a lot of players prefer their forehand drop. What they can do is they can essentially just serve from farther out towards their backhand. And what this does is it makes it pretty much impossible for them to have to hit a backhand, and they can guarantee that they get a forehand every single time. You can also just hit your serve and immediately get in position to move to your forehand. So I don't really need to get into my square position here. I can actually just wait in that 45-degree angle position after I hit my serve and move immediately. So for some players, this is going to be a lot more efficient. There's just less moving parts. But if you have a good drop on both sides, you probably are better off just doing it from the middle or serving from wherever you want and getting square to the court, because if you can do it on both sides, you should. You don't want to be the kind of player that only hits drops from one side. I wouldn't say it's ideal, but this is a great little hack for players that just want to hit it from one side. You can also do this if you're not the player serving. So if you're my partner, you can just stand closer to one side and guarantee that you hit that drop. The one thing you need to watch out for is if I'm shading over really far to one side, obviously your opponent now has an opportunity to maybe go for a harder return towards that area, which causes you to have to move even more. That's why I don't really do this, but some players prefer to do this. It makes it a lot easier for them to stay consistent. So if this sounds like something that would benefit you, make sure to give it a try. But if you like doing it on both sides, you don't need to worry about this. So now that we understand the preparation for the drop, we need to understand the technique. And there's three main different types of techniques that players use when they hit drops. So the first is topspin. So this is the hardest for sure. And to hit a topspin drop, I ride up the back of the ball and I brush up on the back to create the topspin. It's the most aggressive drop, and when I'm hitting it, see, it's a little bit hard to stay 100% consistent because there's more movement in my arm. The next style of drop that I see a lot of players using, it might be the most common, is the push drop. The push drop is essentially where I'm literally just pushing my paddle forward. There's no spin. It would be considered a flat drop probably. Might be the easiest to make in for some players. The last drop would be the slice drop. So this is the third technique and third style. As you can see, the main difference here is that I'm cutting under the ball, getting a little bit of that backspin. Cutting under the ball makes it float a little bit more. It also makes it so that when the ball bounces, it doesn't go forward as much because the backspin kind of makes the ball stop. So when I'm hitting the slice drop, this is actually a very good technique to prevent your opponents from attacking, but it's not necessarily as offensive as a topspin drop like that one. The question then becomes, which drop should you be using, and in what situations should you be using each drop? This is a huge question and probably the biggest thing to determine how consistent you're going to be on a daily basis when you're hitting drops. But before I get into that, I just wanted to quickly mention that right now we're running our Mother's Day sale, which is our biggest of the year so far. So if you use code MOM, you'll actually get an additional $20 off too on our paddles and on the Dinkmaster Pro. And the Dinkmaster Pro is also coming with the free pack of Ninja Balls right now. So if you want to take advantage of our lowest prices of the year, make sure to head to our site and use code MOM. So when it comes to deciding which of the three spins and techniques that you should use, the main thing to consider is what you are most consistent with. So whatever of these three spins that you're most confident in is what you should use. So I love my forehand topspin drop. That's my favorite drop to use on my forehand side. I also think it's effective because it has that topspin on it. But on my backhand, I like to slice it. I don't really have a very good backhand topspin drop. It's kind of hard to hit a topspin drop on your backhand anyway. So that's normally what I do. but I can switch back and forth. But if I'm ever feeling a little bit like I'm missing or I'm not having my best day, I resort back to what I'm most confident in. So that's what you need to do. You need to decide on your forehand which style of drop you're most consistent with and stick with it. And on your bad days, you can go back to that and you can get back to a baseline level of making them in, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to be missing your drops all over the place and then start switching between slices, top spins, push drops. On your best days and situationally, there are times where you should switch between them, but for the most part, if you want to be consistent, you need to have that baseline drop. That's what you use when you're not feeling your best. So for a lot of people, it's going to be the push drop. I think if you're not coming from a tennis background, the topspin drop is a little bit challenging. So the push drop or the slice drop is a great option to build your consistency in. So if you're watching this and you don't really have one that you're consistent in yet, that's where I'd start. I'd start with either the push drop or the slice drop. So just remember, you need to have a drop, at least one. Maybe it's only on your forehand. You need to have at least one that you're consistent with, and that's what you should stick with until you're getting at least 70, 80% of them in. So in terms of the technical differences though between those three drops, the main difference is the trajectory and where you're swinging. So on a push drop, this is the most different. Usually you're letting the ball drop a little bit more and your paddle is going to be facing down. So as you can see, my paddle is facing down and I'm sort of swinging up like this. I'm not really getting much spin in it. If anything, I might be getting a little bit of topspin or a little bit of splice depending on the shot. So as you can see, my paddle's facing down, makes it pretty easy. My motion's very, very linear. I'm sort of just rocking my shoulder forward to hit the ball. On a topspin, I'm more on the side of my body. So on my push drop, I'm hitting it out in front more with my paddle facing down. On a topspin, I'm out to the side of my body and I'm brushing up it. So when I hit a topspin, my paddle finishes above my contact point after I hit the ball. And that's where I get that spin from. In essence though, it's still the same thing. I'm still rocking forward with my shoulder, but on the topspin, I'm adding that extra raising of the shoulder too, which is where it becomes a little bit more complicated. So push drop looks like this. Topspin's over here looks like this. So similar motions, but we get a different result based on where I'm hitting the ball and how much I'm brushing up on the back of it. Slice drops, I'm coming down. So I'm not gonna be chopping down, but I am sort of cupping under the ball when I hit it. So that looks like this. I still need to hit up though, because we're hitting the ball a little bit up on a drop. So the slice drop is more of a banana motion, whereas the topspin is more of a straight line up. And my push is sort of a rocking motion forward. So the next thing that we need to remember is that in order to hit an effective drop, regardless of what technique you're using, regardless of how good you prepare, you need to make sure it's coming in at the right trajectory and landing in the right spot for it to be effective. So if I hit a drop like this, my opponent can't attack. That was going too high. That was gonna land about a foot or two behind the kitchen line. That is not good enough if your opponent is already standing at the kitchen line, which one player every point should be doing that anyways. So an effective drop generally is passing the net around 1.5 feet over it, and it's landing about 1.5 feet to a foot from the kitchen line. So that looks like this, which as you can see, Drew had to back up on that one. Even if he tries to take it out of the air, he's really gonna be reaching. So you can't really attack. So regardless of the technique you're using, regardless of where you're hitting it from the court, you're aiming for around here, and for that point right there, 1.5 feet from the kitchen line. And if you do that, it's going to be hard for your opponent to attack, and you're gonna be able to move forward. If it's too high, or if it's a little bit closer to the kitchen line, you're probably gonna get stuck in the transition zone and have to hit a reset. So the golden drop is in this range where it goes from here to here. And if you can make that happen with good preparation, I guarantee you're going to be able to move forward and you're going to be able to score while you're serving. And if you want to watch a video where we go a little bit deeper into the science of this specific part of hitting the drop, watch this.